Hello and welcome to episode 20. Yes, 20 of the SWR Darts Coaching Podcast with me, Sean. I am a full-time qualified and accredited darts coach, a PDPA level 1 coach, JDC level 2, and Sight Right accredited. It's been an odd one this episode has. I've been meaning to get an episode out. Originally, this was going to be an episode with a guest, and then I messed that up. This was then originally going to be me sort of audio recording a coaching session, and I messed that up. And then this was going to be me basically talking with someone else, and again I messed that up. So I've been really messy over these last few months, to be fair. But what I thought we'd have a quick podcast where we'll talk about the way the game is at the moment, the state of the game, if you will. I want to talk about the difference between the words training and practice. I want to sort of turn your head maybe a little bit and how we just define training and practice. And obviously I just want to talk about, darts coaching in general and where I think it's now gone. So let's get into the episode. Let's get straight into it. So where are we at the moment? State of the game, if you will. Listen, darts has never been as popular as it is at the moment, I would say. The boom in darts right now is just unbelievable. 3 years ago when I was sort of starting out on my journey with coaching, I've been coaching for nearly 6 years now, but 3 years ago, that was the moment when I was like, I maybe had 2 bookings a week. I'm now giving myself time off because, I'm flat out with coaching. And at the moment, I don't see the state of, darts dying down, which is great, obviously. But there are issues to this as well. There are a lot of issues that come along with a sport that booms and flourishes. And it's various strange issues that I'm finding. Now, I coach every age, every ability. I don't try and coach under 7-year-olds. That's just a personal preference towards safeguarding more than anything. I also feel that, your 5 to 6-year-olds, yes, they might love darts, but the throwing from the shorter distance isn't something that's in my philosophy. So I tend to say 7 up. Ability-wise, I coach any ability, I honestly do. And, I always joke in my sessions when people come, you don't know what's walking through your door. And that is very true. I never know what's going to walk through my door at SWR Darts Coaching. And I have seen what I feel is everything. I've got my top 3 players that I've always, I will always say were the most challenging, shall we go, in the way that they were with darts, their mechanics, what they did. I've had some really good laughs in the past as well with certain people. And it's, listen, we all throw different. This is the thing, and I'm coming to where I'm getting here is that, we have to be on social media. Anyone has to be on social media. If you're a business these days, you have to be on social media. You have to promote yourself through social media. And social media has been a great avenue for me. It really has. But my word, can it be a very toxic avenue? So I always joke that, I've got all these qualifications behind me. I've got all the available darts qualifications in the UK. So if there's a darts qualification, which there is technically 4 of in the UK, I've got them all. Yet, according to a gentleman on Facebook, who I will name on here, his name was John Wild, you can't coach darts, and I should have just gone to exhibitions to get their signatures because it would have been cheaper for me. Because you can't coach darts. It's all about having talent, ability, and the understanding to practice. Now, no, I disagree with that. And I had a guy the other day. I can't remember his full name, but I think his first name was Ashton or Ashley or something. And he was like, darts isn't a sport that can be coached. It's just about practice. You're stealing people's money. Which got me back up a little bit, but I've got to a stage where I'm fairly thick-skinned. If you've ever seen a picture of me, you'll know I'm fat, so I'm very thick-skinned. But what got me there was, well, are we going to say this to tennis coaches, golf coaches, snooker coaches, pool coaches, football coaches? Every sport has their coaches. Darts is no different. I've said this on many a podcast before. Darts is no different. Okay. The role of a darts coach isn't to tell you how to throw a dart. You've got to stand like this, you've got to do this. I always joke, them people live on YouTube. The role of a darts coach is to help you understand what you are doing. It's to analyse how you are at the hockey, what you are like, when you're approaching the hockey. And to try and help you understand why at times your darts are drifting a lot in the 5, maybe over to the 12s, across to the 1s, the 18s, you're missing the big numbers. That's the role of a coach, to help you understand them little bits within your game, to try and get and iron out these little areas of your game that are probably holding your game back that little bit. So, yes, I'm always going to self-promote myself. Of course I am. I'm a full-time darts coach. I need people coming through that door to pay the living, to pay the wages, to pay the rent, and everything like that. But the perception is still, even with this big boom we've got in this game at the moment, that you don't need coaches. But what I'm now seeing as well is that people are going to, people that are doing okay in like major tournaments, and when I say major tournaments, I don't mean the PDC level. And they're going up to them and going, will you coach, will you coach such and such? Will you coach young Alfie? Will you coach young Damien? And these guys are turning around and going, yeah, no worries. And they're just playing a bit of 501 with you. I'll make sure you keep your elbow up. Yeah, try not move if you can. And all this. But they've got no qualifications behind them. They've got no safeguarding behind them. They've probably not even been DBS checked. But people are going to them because, and I quote from someone that I've had this from, well, he's played a bit. He's played a bit. Right, okay. So because he's played a bit, that's why you're taking your son or your daughter to this person. Whereas I've played a bit. I've not played at the high echelon, but I've played. But I've got the backing from the PDPA, the JDC. I understand the knowledge of sighting with SightRight. Psychology, I've worked with sports psychologists around darts mostly to get an understanding of not just my game, but the game in general. Now, the PDPA are absolutely superb in their support for coaches. There are a lot of coaches now who are PDPA level 1 qualified. But there are some coaches out there that have the qualification that have not ever done any form of coaching and will tell you to throw how they will throw. Now, that isn't coaching for me. So, experienced coaches that have been around for quite a long time, of course, I'm always going to encourage anyone to gravitate to us, but I'm not knocking the new breed of coaches that are coming into this game. My worry now is that because of the boom that darts is having, there are more and more people now looking to become darts coaches. However, where's the experience come from in coaching? Not playing now, I'm talking the experience of coaching. Do you understand the psychological mindset of coaching? Do you understand that when we coach, we are the coach? We're not telling them how to throw. We are telling them what they are doing and how we can sort of tweak and technique their approach to the game. Or are you coaching it as you would play it? It's always a wonder of mine. But the current state of the game, look, it's booming. There's no doubt about it. More and more people are coming into the game. More and more dart shops are opening. I was only talking to a guy the other day who he runs a dart shop, and I was explaining that there might be another dart shop opening not far from him. And he was like, "Oh, that's not what I need because my business is that's my catchment area." But I think from where maybe 5 years ago there wasn't really a lot of dart shops. Your club maybe sold some flights. Your snooker club maybe sold some sets of darts here and there. We're now in a stage whereby every major city is as good as got a dart shop. Every major town is getting a dart shop. So darts is not going anywhere at the moment, I feel. But from my point of view, if you are struggling with your game, I always said this, and I think I might have said this on the last episode, I'm not sure the one before. If you're struggling with your game, your natural thing to do is start trying to recorrect yourself. Another thing you'll do is go, these darts aren't right for me, I shall go and buy another set of darts. Now, all I'm going to say here is, you're the mechanic of your darts. Them darts can't physically move without you moving them. You are the mechanic. So if those darts are going wrong, it's because there's something within your mechanical setup, something within your mindset, something within your psychological approach. So when you go out and get another set, it'll feel different. So your mindset, psychological mindset will change. But the mechanical issue will possibly still be there. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But without a shadow of doubt, it's more accessible now to go and try darts than it ever has been. I was spotted on TikTok the other day, a website called Repointed UK. These guys are setting up the first ever darts selling website dedicated purely to second-hand darts and brand new darts. So that, if you've got a set of darts you want to sell, you can go on here and you can post them. It's a bit like a Vinted and eBay sort of thing, but for darts only, and darts accessories, which I thought was great. And I'll be looking out for them, and I might even try and get them on a podcast to have a chat with them, because I think that is something that could go big. But again, I got told the other day I was jumping on a hype train of darts. Hype train. I've been coaching for nearly 6 years. I was coaching before Luke Littler burst onto the scene of the main game. I remember watching Luke playing in the JDCs. But I jumped on a hype train, apparently. So my worry is, of all these people that are investing all this money into the darts lines now, how sustainable is it for them? Same for me as a coach. How sustainable is it? Interesting thought, without doubt. So, moving on. The next topic I want to cover in this, and this is the one that I'm very much in the mindset of right now. Do you train darts or do you practice darts? What are you? Answer this question to me now. So you've come in from work, school, university, down the mine. I don't know what people do these days. I live in my own little bubble. But this is your opportunity. You've gone to the side, you've pitched your darts up, you're in front of your dartboard. What are you doing? Are you going for a practice or are you going to train? Because the two things are very, very different in the way we perceive them. You'd be surprised. So, training. I come from a football background, as I say. In football, we don't practice. American football, in America though, they do. They go into practice. But over here, the players go training. But it got me thinking about, when it comes to darts, do we train or do we practice? Now, I've started using training a lot. Because training is about learning. But practice is about refinement. So when we train, we're learning about the game. We learn all the subtle areas of the game. We train our checkouts. We train what we're looking to go for in them moments. But on the flip side of it, practice. Practice is the refinement of that. They are the same thing, but it's how we say it and how we in our mind go, okay, I'm going to go train. I'm going to have half an hour training. I'm going to have half an hour practice. Which one to your inner consciousness sounds better to you? So what I tend to find is that training involves a conscious effort with strategical thinking. So when I'm going to train, I'm in that zone. I'm in the training zone. I'm here to learn. I'm here to, get more consciousness out of this. But practice can just lead to automatic and habitual performances. Is that not the playing side? So have we got three sides of this that we've never sort of considered before, which is training, practice and play? I can't take my practice to my play. But should we be taking the training into the practice into the play? It all moves around a little bit. Training does lay the foundation of what we're doing though. So we want to get consistent with throwing the darts in the 20 section. Now, notice how I say the 20 section, not the treble. The 20 section. That's what we're after. We all want to put them 3 darts in the 20 section, precisionally together. So we can train that. We can train that from the off. But then down the line, doing that, does that then just become repetition from the training? But if I'm practicing just to get 3 darts in there, it doesn't sound the same consciously as saying, well, I'm going to train to get 3 darts in there. Because that word training gives us that little bit more that we're going to take more in. Training versus practice. I'm changing a lot of my mindset when I'm down at in the sessions and the 1-to-1s and across to the website that I do as well. To training. I've recently just changed my darts academy. We're no longer called a darts academy. We're called a training academy. A darts training academy. I've added the word training in there. Purely for that fact that we are training. Players come to our academy, and I've always had this philosophy that we don't do 501 or we don't play 01 as such. But we do all the individual core elements that lead up to a game of 01. So for me, I will help my players to train them 3 core elements via a series of games, a series of training routines that they can then go away and train themselves at home, which hopefully in the long run will help them with their play. But it is something that I think we neglect in darts again. I talked just about the coaching. A lot of people don't still see, coaches aren't needed in darts. Yes, they are. But do we need to flip the mindset of training and practice? Do we need to make training the word we use? I'm going to go and train darts for an hour. I'm going to go train with Steve down the pub for 2 hours. I'm going to go for a practice with Steve. It sounds different when you say it. You think it differently. But if you say, I'm going to go training with Steve for 2 hours, it sounds more intense to you in your mind. Go to the footballing side. You don't turn around. If you are a football player, someone who plays for a Sunday league team or a Saturday team, pub team, whatever level you might be listening to this, you're not going to go, I've got football practice on Monday. Now, in America, they do call it practice, soccer practice, football practice, hockey practice. They don't use the word training over there, but over here we do use the word training for them sports. But when it comes to darts, we call it practice. So maybe start thinking about the difference between training and practice and how your brain perceives it. When you go on a first aid course, you train to learn CPR. You train to learn first aid. Because you're learning it. You're learning something about that. Hopefully you never have to put it into practice, though. Think about that one. So, training and practice, 2 different things, basically meaning the same thing in a way. But for me, it's about training now. When players come to me now, I talk a lot about training. What do you train? I used to say, what's your practice routine? But now I'm going, what's your training routine? I've just done a training routine for a player who's been coming to me. It's a 5-day training plan. In this training plan, I don't talk about his nutrition and things like that. That's up to him. I do explain that when he's there you go, you see, straight away, when he's practicing, when he's training, that I want him to have fluids there to make sure he's getting fluids on board, fruit and all that sort of stuff. But it's set training times. You will train this hour and a half on a Monday. You'll do 2 hours on a Wednesday. You'll have Tuesday off maybe. Because again, I'm also of the mindset that train 5 out of 7 days, don't train every day. The more you train is good, I don't deny that. But put them breaks in there. Put the brakes on sometimes. Step away from the game for a day. Have a day away from training. Because when you're stuck in a rut as a dart player, it's a horrible place to be. When you're someone who's chasing that mythical 80 average as a 40 average player, it's difficult. And it can get you. I ask kids when they come to session, and I'm going to ask you, the listeners to this podcast now, I want you to answer this. Okay. So, Do you enjoy darts? Hopefully you've said yes. Do you find darts fun? Hopefully you've said yes. So why do you get frustrated with it? If you enjoy it and you find it fun, why do you get frustrated with it? Because you get frustrated with it because you're trying to push yourself with this game. Because don't forget, darts is the easiest game in the world, in theory. It's throwing 3 sticks at a living plant on your wall. But we overthink it. We all think we want to be, I can be Luke Littler, I can be Luke Humphries, I can be Phil Taylor. Oh, they make it look so easy. But it's not. They've trained to get there. Now, if you train to get there, yes, the chances are you're going to see that improvement. I joke about my training schedules and I give them to people after coaching sessions. And I say, listen, this is an 8-week training plan. You do it 3 times a week over the 8 weeks. And I always joke that if you are someone who tracks your AVG, track it now. And then in 8 weeks' time, see where it's at. Because I do feel that with the structured training I put through my training plans with players, that I can add potentially 5 points to that AVG in the 8-week period, just with the focus of the training areas that I encourage players to focus on. Now that's 5 points in 8 weeks. So if we work on that basis of 5 points in 8 weeks, that's going to be 10 points in 16 weeks. So the trouble with a lot of players is, I find, is that they want that instant hit. I've had people come to me for coaching and then gone, they've sent me a message like 6-8 weeks later when I touch base with them. They've gone, I've not seen any improvement yet. Right, have you been doing the 8-week training schedule? No. Well, why not? I don't see the point in it. I just want to play 501 because that's what we play. Okay, yeah, but from footballing point of views, players don't play 11 aside. Golf, players go to a driving range and they train their swing. They train their hitting and all that. But they don't walk around a course to train. Snooker players, they go to the club, they throw the balls on the table, they have certain routines that they go through, aiming routines. They don't just go to the club and play full frames for training purposes. So, us as dart players, I think we need to try and change this perception of how we train. And that's what I'm doing in a lot of my sessions. I had a guy recently come down. He sent me a message saying really good feedback, saying that he's loving his game at the moment. And within that, what I've now noticed is when he comes to the training sessions, you can see the next level of his game is already starting to show through. But there's still them, imperfections in his delivery at times that we need to look at and we need to identify when it happens. But at least when he's in a match scenario and he's playing in his ADC vaults and something's gone and wrong in that ADC vault for him, he's now starting to identify what it is based on the training that we've done, the coaching that I've done with him. So at that point then, he's not losing his head. He knows what's gone wrong. He can identify what's gone wrong and then start to look to go through the process that we put in place psychologically of how he can change that approach. So, yeah, for me, the ending this little bit of the podcast, training, practice. What do you do? Do you train darts or do you practice darts? Let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Facebook. Let me know what you do. Do you train or do you practice? I'd be fascinated to find out. I really would. While we're on the front of training or practice, though, my website, I've now got 96 practice games, and I'm using the inverted commas there, which I know you can't see. When I first started my website, I had this thing of getting all these games on there, routines, for anyone to sort of come and use. And I wanted it to be a library. That was always my aim, to have it as a library. And that's what it's grown to today. It is a library of training games. But what I'm now also finding is that some people who are not coaches, some people who are coaches, but some people who are not coaches are using these games in their sessions with kids and other players. And the one I saw recently, which really made me laugh, was that they had taken a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, to my logo. and they got it posted up by the dartboard, and the parent who was there had taken a photo, and you could see the printout of my training game at the side of the dartboard with my logo covered up under a Sharpie. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. But the aim was always that to give players the way of training away from using, just plain 01. And the one I've just posted of recently, and if you go on the website, you'll be able to find it, is number 37. And it's a mini routine, how to take a mini routine. And it's dead simple game. You're going to come up and we're going to go for the section 11, section 13, section 15, 17, 18 and 20. Now, why have I included 11 and 13, you might ask? And I'm not going to tell you why, unless you come to a one-to-one coaching session. But the aim is you've got to aim at them targets to get the hits, and then you open score, and you time your open score by the amount of hits you've got. There is then 5 checkouts available. So we're aiming for the checkouts, 50 points per checkout. And then you add that to your previous score. And then the third game, which is my treble switch game. So we start at treble 20. We throw all 3 darts at treble 20. If we hit the treble, we get the points value. If we don't hit the treble, we basically we lose that points value. So if you're going for treble 20 and you don't hit a treble 20, you lose 60 points off your running total and you move to 19s. Same thing there. If you don't hit it, you lose 57 points and so on and so forth. And you go all the way down to treble 1. Yes, really, you're going to throw 3 darts at treble 1. But it's a good fun little routine. And the basis is that first 6 visits at the start of in game 1, that's what sets you up for the session, because you've got to get a good score there. So it's switching you on at the start of your practice. Switching you on. Straight away then, the next one comes, we get a little bit more difficult because we get some checkouts in there, and then we put the hardest task at the end. The hardest task is at the end. The easiest task is that first bit in a way, because even if you can hit one single 11 and then you can go up and hit a score of 60, say, you're going to get 1 times 60, which is 60. So the start of the training is very much about you getting the points on the board. Then I make it difficult for you to sustain, I couldn't get the word out then, sustain them points on the board. So number 37 on the website, mini routine as I take is what I call it. Get involved, have a go at it, see how you get on. Again, there's loads on there. There's 96 at the moment. I have about another 7 which I'm going to be adding. So at some point we'll have 100 on there. But to raise the question of, should I ever make it whereby you have to pay to see them? Because people are taking these training games and some are, passing them off as their own, which is, I don't mind. You do what you need to do. But give a coach a bit of recognition. That's all I'm going to say. If I find a game that is based off Go Darts Pro or the JDC or my dart training, for instance, I will post that on that image. If someone gives me a game, which I've had one recently, that I will credit them to their name. There are some on there that, probably someone has created in the past. I've done. I've not been able to find a name for it, so I just put it on there and I've not accredited them. Swings and roundabouts though, isn't it? But when you're printing off stuff from a website to use in a training session, or what I'd probably class that to be more as a practice session, because I know the person doesn't do a lot of training. They do a lot of 501 play. For me, that's a little bit disrespectful, and then take a Sharpie to the logo of the person you've had it from. Just my opinion. I'm quite controversial. I know that. So, another episode finally out. Do you practice or do you train? And you noticed as well, I will keep saying practice. I'm training myself to say the word training now over practice. But it's very difficult because practice is what's always been associated to darts. But I'm now trying to get across, in my sessions especially, the word training. Because I just think we take more in when we say training. Because training's about learning, practice is about refinement. So I want you to think about it. That's it for episode 20. As I say, I've been really poor in trying to get this set up properly. I have a list of people I want to touch base with and do a podcast with. I have a few PDPA coaches I want to do podcasts with, especially the newer ones that are joining the PDPA, to find out why they wanted to become a PDPA coach. I've got people like Ricky at the DDO, which I am going to do a podcast with Ricky. He runs the Digital Darts online franchise. I'm going to call it a franchise. I don't think it is. I don't think he'd call it a franchise. But the DDO is really good. I'm a member of the DDO. I'm just terrible at remembering I need to play games. But there's big things going on with the DDO, and hopefully we'll get Ricky on and he can come on and talk about it. I've got other people that I want to talk with from across Twitter. Samson Does Darts is a guy I follow on YouTube, and Samson's a guy I'd love to get on a podcast. I've not reached out to him, so this is me reaching out to you, Samson. If you listen to this, reach out to me. I'd love to do a podcast and have a chat with you about your journey. I might even reach out to you after this I've recorded, but yeah, I have got plans of what I want to do. Honestly, I have. Folks, thank you very much for listening. You can find me online, swrdartscoaching.co.uk. You can find me across all the social platforms. I'm doing a little mini-series on TikTok at the moment, so if you search for SWR Darts Coaching on TikTok, I'll come up. I'm doing a little mini-series on there where I answer loads of questions. It's a bit of fun, and I do take the mick out of myself on there as well. But if you've got any comments about this podcast, put them in the comments here on Spotify. Send me a message, send me an email. The email is info@swrdartscoaching.co.uk. And I'll do my best to answer them. I honestly will. And until the next episode, just keep enjoying your darts. And remember, you're the mechanic of your darts. But do you train or do you practice? Take care, folks.